How long are we going to pretend this is what your digital drawing looks like on camera? Because it's not. If you've ever tried to take photos of your drawing, you probably end up disappointed every single time. The colors look off, the image loses sharpness, and somehow your work just looks worse than it actually is. Just compare how my drawing looks on camera to the photo I post on Instagram. There is a reason the drawing in this photo looks so perfect. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to take aesthetic photos of your art without any complicated setup or lighting. And I'll share a game-changing trick that digital art bloggers you follow are already using but never talk about. And even if this method isn't for you, keep watching. I'll give you an easy alternative at the end. So let's start with something super basic that people somehow always forget. First, clean your camera lens. Seriously, it sounds obvious, but a dirty lens will instantly ruin the sharpness. I don't even use anything special. I just wipe it on my clothes and that's enough. I'm not gonna recommend any cameras or expensive equipment. This method works with pretty much any camera. Here, I'll actually be shooting on an old iPhone 12 since I'm using my main phone to film this video. Next is lighting. I take about 99% of my photos in natural light. The key is to avoid direct sunlight because it creates harsh shadows that make everything look worse. Now, composition. You can just take a photo of your iPad on a table or in your hands, but it's so much better if you build a scene around it. Try to tell a story with the objects in your frame. For example, if you're drawing interiors, you can add material samples, books, anything that fits the theme. If you're doing fashion sketches, you could add things like fabric samples, buttons, or ribbons. Or you can keep it more neutral. Candles, books, trays, flowers. The main thing is not to overdo it. Your drawing should still be the focus. And one very important tip. When you're setting up your composition, don't look at the objects themselves, look at your screen. Move things around while watching how they look in the camera. That's how you'll actually see the final image. But even if you do all of this right, there's still one big problem. Your drawing on the iPad screen never looks as good in photos as it does in real life. And this is where it gets interesting. Instead of photographing your artwork, you're going to photograph a completely blank white screen. I know it sounds weird, but that's the trick. You just create a white image, for example in Procreate, open it on your iPad and take a photo of that. Then just edit the photo the way you normally would. I usually play around with the contrast, add some sharpness, maybe a little warmth, but you can also just leave it as is. After that, send the photo to your iPad and open it in Procreate. Use the selection tool, set it to automatic, tap on the screen area and drag to expand the selection so it fully covers the iPad screen. Then tap copy and paste so the screen is on a separate layer. Now clean it up a bit. Reduce the saturation to remove any color cast and adjust the brightness so it matches the overall photo. The goal is to remove any color distortion while keeping the screen looking natural, like it actually belongs in the photo. Next step. Open your artwork and take a screenshot. Personally, I like to keep the Procreate interface visible. It makes it clear what app the drawing was created in and adds a bit more context. Go back to your photo, tap on the wrench icon, go to Add, then tap Insert a photo and bring in your screenshot. Make sure Uniform is selected, then scale it so it roughly matches the screen. Then open the Layer panel, tap on the layer and set the blending mode to multiply. Then switch to the Distort tool and start adjusting the corners to match the perspective of the screen. Take your time here. This step makes a big difference. Try to line up each corner of the image with the corners of the iPad screen and pay attention to the edges so everything follows the same angle. Since this illustration is in a white background, it's a bit more forgiving. Tiny gaps between the frame and the screenshot won't be as noticeable. And if your drawing has a light or white background, you can pretty much stop here. You'll already get a clean photo where the colors are accurate, the image is sharp, and everything looks natural. But if your artwork has a dark background, especially black, you might notice that the black on the iPad frame doesn't quite match how deep the blacks look in your drawing, mostly because of the lighting. You could fix this earlier during photo editing, but we are going to adjust it right here in Procreate. Go back to your photo layer, select the selection tool, and switch it to freehand. Now your goal is to carefully trace the black iPad frame. I usually follow the rounded corners by hand and then just tap along the straight edges to place points. Try to shoot your photo so nothing overlaps the screen. No hands, no Apple Pencil, no objects hanging over it. You can do that, but it's a bit more advanced and requires some extra editing. If your iPad case has any irregular edges around the frame, carefully trace them as well. Keep going until you've selected the entire frame, taking your time to stay as close to the edges as possible so the selection looks clean and precise. Then tap Copy and Paste so the frame appears on a new layer. Now go to Adjustments and select Curves. The lower part of the curve controls the darker tones. Drag the bottom point of the curve to the right and watch how the black on the frame changes. Stop once the blacks on the frame feel consistent with your drawing. If the blacks in your artwork feel a bit too deep, you can also lighten them slightly using curves. To do that, gently move the bottom point of the curve upward until the tones feel more balanced. And with this hack, your drawing will look just as good in photos as it does in real life. You can create a bunch of these photos in advance and use them for your future illustrations. But if you don't have the time, energy, or desire to go through all of these steps, I actually have a simpler solution for you. I created ready-to-use photo packs with clean lighting and pre-adjusted screens, fully set up for Procreate. So instead of shooting and editing everything yourself, you can just drop your artwork in with a couple of taps and save the final image. All the tedious parts are already done. Skip the Distort tool, skip the selections, skip the frame edits. Just drop in your artwork, scale it, and save. I'll leave the links in the description. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.